If you've been following along on this channel, reviewing Star Wars modern figures from Hasbro, you know that I'm just focusing on the classic trilogy. It's what I collect. Power of the Jedi combined classic trilogy with Episode 1, but the next classic trilogy, sort of, figure was this guy. And what do I mean by sort of? Well, he's not quite the figure that you think he is. I guess to paraphrase The Matrix, when Morpheus says to Neo, when he asks if he's dead, and he says, "Not even close." Yeah, Snaggletooth? Not even close. See, Snaggletooth didn't exactly appear in the original movie. I mean, he kind of did. All right, I know, this is confusing, and I actually made a whole video talking about this because it's a really interesting concept, the fact that this vintage figure is the only one that didn't appear in the original movie. We got plenty of Cantina aliens back in the day, and we've gotten a lot more Cantina aliens since then. The modern line has been a cornucopia of getting aliens from the Cantina, which is fantastic. But the story of Snaggletooth, aka Zutton, aka Tequil, is confusing, and it's added to by this figure. Now, looking at the original way the Cantina was created, the aliens that were available were very limited. Very few were made at Elstree Studios on the set. You can even see that it was mostly humans. There were a few aliens, and they were put in the foreground, but yeah, even Greedo had to get remade because Lucas just was not happy with the way the aliens were looking. All of the aliens we've come to know and love were created afterwards as inset shots, even the Cantina band members. This was all done by Ron Cobb and Don Post. Now, you'll notice there are two Snaggletooth-esque aliens that were available on set. And this character showed up both in the streets of Mos Eisley and in the Cantina, both of them. And one had a humpback, one did not. One had less hair, one had more hair. But yes, they were right there on set. And you can prominently see the character that we tend to call Snaggletooth next to Han. So this was the character that sort of inspired Snaggletooth in the second wave of Kenner figures from 1978-79. Now, the concept that was given, or rather the concept reference material, was grainy and black and white, which is why the Kenner designers decided the figure wore blue and was tall. In fact, the designer even put his own symbol from his business card on the character's belt as kind of a signature. So that's how we got blue Snaggletooth, which isn't even close to being correct, but has become a huge collector's item over the years. Now, the Snaggletooth then got retooled and released as a short character, and in the modern line, we got a version called Tequil, released with the Cantina Alien cinema scene. And this is correct to the Cantina, so this character appeared in the movie in the Cantina. Bam, awesome, modern Snaggletooth, right? Well, sort of, kind of. So, the figure we now are talking about in Power of the Jedi isn't quite the Snaggletooth that appeared in the Cantina or was released previously, but it is a legitimate character, and that's on the basis not only of what he looks like, but all of the reference images. So the name of the character, Zutton, adds to the confusion because we had a later figure in the vintage line also called Zutton. Are either of these characters Snaggletooth? Well, kind of, sort of. The character pictured here, the one on the vintage figures card photo, is from the Star Wars Holiday Special. So here he is here. This character did not appear in A New Hope. So for those of you who have a Cantina scene, including this Zutton from Power of the Jedi, you actually have a Star Wars Holiday Special collection on your shelf. The character is legitimate. He's from the Holiday Special, and the images on the card back show reference for this content. And it's great to have a cool, funny little alien from the Holiday Special, and you don't get that many characters that are, have a bald spot. The figure was later retooled with slightly larger legs and painted blue as sort of a commemorative figure to that original blue Snaggletooth, but that isn't accurate either because, again, there was no character in the blue until the Clone Wars when they made an animated version. To add to the confusion, an updated sculpt was later released as first Snaggletooth in a Target-exclusive 3-pack, but then later re-released on a single card, as I mentioned earlier, calling the character Zutton, which is the same name used in the Power of the Jedi line. So that's where a lot of the confusion lays. Who is Zutton, and which one is accurate? And it does not help that Hasbro has labeled two completely different characters with the same name and released them as Snaggletooth occasionally. So Is Zutton a modern take on Snaggletooth? Sort of, kind of. I mean, he's got the belt buckle thing going, which wasn't in the movie. And the fact that the original Cantina aliens all had, wacky names, except for Greedo, because, well, no one thought this was going to be as big as it was, meant that it used the Zutton holiday special photo as card art. To finally get a figure based on that card art is great, but it is from the holiday special. It's not from A New Hope, from Star Wars Episode 4. But it's totally legitimate. I mean, we can have figures from the holiday special. We had that Boba Fett from the animated look. So for those of us who have very fond memories of the original Cantina aliens from Kenner, this figure does kind of fill in a hole, but it fills in a Star Wars holiday hole. It does not mean a modern update of Snaggletooth. It doesn't make him any less legitimate and less Star Wars-y, but yeah, looking at that original Cantina, there were very few aliens. Snaggletooth, Zutton, Tequil, whatever you're going to call him, was there. He wasn't added as an inset shot like so many of the others, but as a figure in Power of the Jedi, it's legit, and it's cool to get, because, hey, the holiday special is as bad as you think it is, and as bad as you've heard. I don't recommend wasting time watching it, but if you want to have Zutton in your vintage collection, that's sort of available tool. When you say one thing, I mean your mother. Freudian slip. All right, so that kind of clears it up. It's still a cool figure.